At the end of our last journey, humanity made one simple but revolutionary decision. Instead of chasing food, people began growing it. That single choice gave birth to villages. Families settled in one place, and the foundations of civilization were finally laid. But one question remained. Where would the world's very first civilization truly rise? The answer lies in a land that most people have heard of, but very few truly understand. A land between two great rivers. A land where writing, cities, laws, and organized government would first appear. A land called Mesopotamia. More than 6,000 years ago, long before the pyramids of Egypt were built, long before Greece produced its philosophers, and long before Rome ruled an empire, Mesopotamia became the birthplace of civilization. The name Mesopotamia comes from ancient Greek and simply means the land between rivers. Those rivers were the mighty Tigris and the Euphrates. Both rivers began in the mountains of modern-day Turkey before flowing hundreds of miles through the fertile plains of present-day Iraq and into the Persian Gulf. Every year, these rivers flooded their banks. Unlike sudden floods that destroyed everything, these seasonal floods often left behind rich, dark soil. That fertile mud transformed the dry landscape into one of the best farming regions on Earth. People quickly realized something remarkable. If they could control the water, they could control their future. Communities began digging canals. They built simple irrigation systems using mud walls and hand-dug channels. For the first time, humans were no longer completely dependent on rainfall. Fields could be watered even during dry seasons. Harvests became larger, food became more plentiful, and populations grew faster than ever before. As more families settled along the rivers, villages expanded into towns. Then something extraordinary happened. Some of those towns continued growing until they became the first true cities in human history. One of the earliest and most famous was Uruk. It wasn't just a large village. It had thousands of people living together. Homes stood side by side. Busy streets connected neighborhoods. Craftsmen produced pottery, tools, and jewelry. Farmers brought grain into the city every harvest season. Merchants exchanged goods from distant lands. For the first time in history, people lived in a place that looked surprisingly similar to what we now call a city. Life was changing faster than ever before. But larger cities also created larger problems. Who would organize thousands of people? Who would store food for difficult years? Who would settle disputes between strangers? Who would protect the growing city from enemies? Humanity needed something entirely new. Not just villages, not just farmers, but organized leadership. And that would become one of Mesopotamia's greatest inventions. Organized leadership did not appear overnight. At first, every city governed itself. Each city had its own farms, its own walls, its own traditions, and eventually its own ruler. These independent cities became known as city-states. Unlike modern countries, a city-state consisted of one major city and the surrounding farmland that supported it. The most famous Sumerian city-states included Uruk, Ur, Eridu, Lagash, Kish, and Nippur. Although they shared the same language and many of the same beliefs, they were completely independent. Sometimes they traded peacefully. Other times, they fought bitter wars over farmland, water, and power. The people who built these remarkable cities were known as the Sumerians. Even today, historians still debate exactly where the Sumerians originally came from. But one thing is certain. They created one of the most influential civilizations the world has ever known. At the center of every Sumerian city stood an enormous structure that dominated the skyline. It was called a ziggurat. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt, which were built as tombs for pharaohs, ziggurats served a completely different purpose. They were massive temple complexes dedicated to the gods. Built from millions of sun-dried mud bricks, these towering structures rose high above the surrounding city. From almost anywhere, people could look up and see the temple watching over them. The Sumerians believed their gods controlled everything: the harvest, the rivers, the weather, life, and death. Every successful crop was seen as a blessing. Every flood, drought, or disease was believed to carry a message from the gods. Because of this, priests became some of the most powerful people in society. They performed religious ceremonies, cared for the temples, managed stored grain, and advised city leaders on important decisions. Religion was not separate from government. It was deeply connected to everyday life. As the cities continued growing, another problem appeared. Farmers harvested thousands of bags of grain. Merchants exchanged animals, pottery, copper, and precious stones. Temples collected taxes. Workers received food as payment. Soon there was simply too much information to remember. For generations, people relied on memory alone. But memory has limits. Someone needed a better way to keep records. Without realizing it, the people of Mesopotamia were about to make one of the greatest inventions in all of human history. An invention that would preserve laws, business, science, literature, and eventually the story of civilization itself. The invention of writing. The invention of writing. It sounds ordinary today. We write messages in seconds. We send emails across the world. We store billions of books inside tiny devices. But more than 5,000 years ago, writing did not exist. Everything people knew lived only in memory. Stories were spoken. Laws were remembered. Trade agreements depended on trust. If someone forgot, the knowledge could disappear forever. The growing cities of Mesopotamia needed something better. Around 3400 BC, in the city of Uruk, the Sumerians developed the world's first writing system. Today, we call it Cuneiform. At first, it wasn't created to write stories. It was created to solve everyday problems. Temple officials needed to count grain. Merchants needed to record trade. Farmers needed to measure harvests. Instead of relying on memory, they began pressing small wedge-shaped marks into soft clay tablets using a sharpened reed. After drying in the sun, those tablets became permanent records. For the first time in history, information could survive long after the person who wrote it had died. As centuries passed, cuneiform became more advanced. People no longer wrote only numbers. They recorded names, letters, religious prayers, poems, scientific observations, medical treatments, mathematics, and eventually, history itself. Another new profession appeared: scribes. Becoming a scribe was incredibly difficult. Students spent years learning hundreds of symbols. Only a small number of people could read and write. Because of that, scribes became some of the most respected members of society. Without them, governments could not function. Trade could not be organized. Laws could not be recorded. Writing became the foundation of civilization. But Mesopotamia's achievements didn't stop there. The Sumerians developed one of the earliest systems of mathematics. Instead of counting by tens like we usually do today, they often used a system based on the number 60. Surprisingly, we still use that system every single day. 60 seconds make 1 minute. 60 minutes make 1 hour. The circle is divided into 360 degrees. Thousands of years later, their ideas are still part of modern life. The people of Mesopotamia also carefully observed the night sky. They tracked the movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Their observations helped farmers know when to plant crops and when to harvest them. They built wheeled carts to transport heavy goods more efficiently. They improved sailing boats that carried products along rivers. Trade expanded farther than ever before. Copper arrived from distant mountains. Timber came from faraway forests. Precious stones crossed deserts. Ideas traveled with every merchant. Mesopotamia became more than just the world's first civilization. It became one of the world's first centers of knowledge. Many of the inventions we take for granted today can trace their roots back to these ancient cities. Yet despite all their success, peace did not last forever. The wealthy city-states grew increasingly powerful. Competition turned into rivalry. Rivalry became war. Ambitious kings dreamed of ruling not just one city, but all of Mesopotamia. Soon, a new leader would rise. He would unite dozens of city-states under a single empire for the very first time. His name was Sargon, and with him, human history would enter the age of empires.